He sat me down and held my hand. He gave an Oscar-worthy performance about how the economy swallowed my inheritance. He didn't know that 5 minutes ago, I received a push notification, "Transfer to Golden Nugget Casino. Accepted." My uncle, Silas Brennan, sat across from me in the living room of his house in Minneapolis, a renovated Victorian in Linden Hills with crown molding and a fireplace that probably cost more than most people's cars. He was wearing a cashmere sweater, his Rolex caught the afternoon light. He looked concerned, sympathetic, devastated even. "Elena, I wish I had better news," he said, squeezing my hand. "The trust fund your father left you, it's gone." I stared at him. My phone was face down on my lap, still warm from the notification that had lit up the screen 3 minutes earlier. Chase private client alert. Wire transfer. $10,000 to Golden Nugget Casino, LLC, Atlantic City, NJ. Available balance, $127,450.89. "What do you mean, gone?" I asked. Silas sighed. He stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the snow-covered lawn like he was carrying the weight of the world. "The market crash. September. You remember hearing about it on the news? The volatility hit tech stocks hard. Your father had invested heavily in high-risk portfolios. I advised against it, but he was stubborn." He turned back to me. "We lost almost everything. I've been trying to recover what I can, but..." He shook his head. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart." I looked at him, at the Rolex, at the cashmere sweater, at the fireplace that was currently burning a Duraflame log that probably cost $8. "How much is left?" I asked. "Maybe $30,000? I'm working with the investment team to see if we can salvage more, but it's not looking good." My father had died 2 years ago. Heart attack. He was 51. I was 26. He'd left me a trust fund, $850,000 managed by his brother Silas until I turned 30. The terms were clear. Silas had fiduciary authority to invest the funds, but he couldn't withdraw without documented cause. And every transaction over $5,000 triggered an alert to my phone. My father had been paranoid. He didn't trust banks, he didn't trust the government, and apparently he didn't fully trust his brother either. So he'd set up alerts. I'd been getting them for 2 years. Small transactions, reasonable investments, dividend payments, nothing suspicious. Until today. $10,000 to a casino. "When did the crash happen?" I asked. Silas frowned. "September 12th. It was all over the news." "And how much did we lose?" "Around $820,000. It was catastrophic." I nodded slowly, pulled out my phone, opened the Chase app. I'd been tracking the account balance obsessively since my father died, not because I didn't trust Silas, though maybe I should have, but because the money was all I had left of my dad. 3 months ago, the balance was $847,000. 2 months ago, $851,000. 1 month ago, $843,000. Yesterday, $1,374,450. Today, after the $10,000 casino withdrawal, $127,450.89. "Silas," I said quietly, "if we lost the money in September, why was the account balance still over $800,000 in November?" He blinked. "What?" "I have alerts. I've been watching the account. The balance didn't drop until 2 weeks ago." Silas's face didn't change, but I saw it. The flicker, the micro-expression, the brief flash of panic before he smoothed it over with confusion. "Elena, you're upset, you're grieving, I understand, but you need to trust me. I've been managing this money for 2 years. I've done everything your father asked me to do. Where's the rest of the money?" "I told you, the market." "You're lying." His face hardened. Just for a second, then the mask came back. I think you should go home. We can talk about this when you've calmed down. I stood up, walked to the door, stopped. I'm going to find out what you did. Silas didn't respond. I walked out into the cold December air, got in my Honda Civic, and sat in the driveway for 10 minutes staring at my phone. Then I called my attorney. Her name was Audrey Tan. She was 39, a partner at a downtown firm that specialized in estate litigation. I'd hired her 6 months ago, not because I suspected anything, but because I wanted someone to review the trust documents and make sure everything was legal. She told me then that the setup was solid, that Silas had fiduciary responsibility, that he couldn't touch the principal without cause. I called her at 4:47 p.m. on a Sunday. She answered on the third ring. Elena, what's wrong? My uncle just told me my trust fund is gone. He says we lost it in a market crash, but I've been getting alerts and the money didn't disappear until 2 weeks ago. And today he transferred $10,000 to a casino. Silence. Say that again. I repeated it, slowly, every detail. Do you have proof? Audrey asked. I have screenshots of every alert. I have the transaction history. I have the account statements. Send them to me, now. I pulled over into a Target parking lot and spent 20 minutes forwarding emails, uploading screenshots, and typing out a timeline. Audrey called me back at 5:32 p.m. Elena, this is wire fraud. Your uncle has been systematically draining your trust fund. Based on what you sent me, he's withdrawn over $700,000 in the last 3 months. My hands went numb. How? He has fiduciary access. He can initiate transfers. But he's supposed to document everything and provide quarterly reports. Did you ever receive reports? No. That's a breach. He's legally required to provide them. The fact that he didn't means he was hiding the withdrawals. What do I do? We file a police report tonight. Then we freeze the account. Then we go after him for everything. Can we get the money back? If he still has it, yes. If he spent it, she paused. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I filed the police report at the Minneapolis Police Department's 3rd Precinct at 7:18 p.m. The officer at the desk looked bored until I mentioned the amount. $700,000? Yes. He sat up straighter. And this is your uncle? Yes. Family disputes are tricky. Are you sure this isn't just a misunderstanding? I handed him the printed transaction history, 37 pages. Every withdrawal, every casino transfer, every wire to offshore accounts. He read the first page, then the second. Then he called his supervisor. By 9 p.m., I was sitting in an interview room with a detective named Sarah Ortiz. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, and didn't waste time. Walk me through it, she said. I did. Every detail. The alerts, the casino, the lie about the market crash. Do you have access to the account? She asked. No, only Silas does. But you get alerts. Yes, my father set them up before he died. Ortiz made notes. This is elder abuse, except you're not elderly, but it's still fiduciary fraud. We'll need to contact the FBI. The FBI? Wire fraud across state lines is a federal crime. The casino transfers went to New Jersey. That makes it federal jurisdiction. She made a call, spoke quietly, hung up. An agent will contact you tomorrow. In the meantime, we're going to pay your uncle a visit. Special Agent Marcus Hale called me at 8:47 a.m. on Monday. Ms. Brennan, I'm with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. I've reviewed your case. I'd like to meet with you today. We met at a coffee shop in Uptown, neutral ground. Hale was in his 50s, gray hair, suit and tie, the kind of guy who looked like he'd seen everything twice. Your uncle is a piece of work. He slided a folder across the table. I opened it. Inside were bank statements I'd never seen, offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, wire transfers to casinos in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and Monte Carlo, credit card charges at luxury hotels. He's been running this for 18 months. He started small, $5,000 here, $10,000 there, amounts small enough that you might not notice. Then he got greedy. How much did he take? $734,000.
We traced the transfers. About $200,000 went to casinos, another $300,000 went to offshore accounts. The rest we're still tracking. I stared at the numbers. My father had worked his entire life to leave me that money. He'd saved, he'd invested, he'd planned. And his uncle had gambled it away. Can you arrest him? We already did. I looked up. This morning, 6 a.m., we executed a search warrant at his home. We seized his computers, his phone, his financial records, and we arrested him on federal wire fraud charges. What happens now? He'll be arraigned tomorrow. If he's smart, he'll plead guilty. If not, we go to trial. Either way, he's looking at 10 to 20 years. And the money? Hale leaned back. That's the hard part. We've frozen his accounts, we've seized his assets, his house, his car, his investment accounts, but a lot of the money is gone, spent. We'll recover what we can, but you're not getting all of it back. I felt the air leave my lungs. How much will I get? We've identified about $180,000 in recoverable assets. The house is worth $650,000, but it has a $400,000 mortgage. His car is worth $90,000. He's got about $40,000 in a checking account. We'll liquidate everything and return it to you, but the rest, he shook his head, it's gone. I sat there, staring at the folder, at the numbers, at the evidence of my uncle's betrayal. I said thank you, quietly. Hale stood up. We'll be in touch. And Miss Brennan, I'm sorry. Family cases are always the worst.
The news hit the Minneapolis Star-Tribune the next day. Local investment manager arrested for wire fraud. Silas Brennan, 54, of Minneapolis, was arrested Monday on federal charges of wire fraud and embezzlement. Brennan is accused of stealing over $700,000 from a family trust fund. He is being held without bail pending arraignment. My phone exploded. Text from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, calls from my father's old friends, emails from reporters asking for comments. I ignored all of it. I drove to Silas's house in Linden Hills. There were police cars in the driveway, FBI agents carrying boxes of evidence out the front door. I parked across the street and watched. One agent carried out a desktop computer. Another carried a filing cabinet. A third carried a framed painting. Expensive, probably worth $10,000. They loaded everything into a white van. Then they locked the front door and put a notice on it. Property seized by order of the U.S. District Court. I took a photo. The arraignment was on Wednesday. I sat in the back of the courtroom and watched Silas shuffle in wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He looked smaller, older, tired. The judge read the charges: wire fraud, embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty. Silas's lawyer entered a plea: not guilty. The prosecutor requested no bail. Your Honor, Mr. Brennan has access to offshore accounts and poses a significant flight risk. The judge agreed. Bail denied. Trial date set for March 15th. Silas was let out. He didn't look at me. I walked out of the courtroom and into the cold Minnesota air. The asset seizure took 3 months. The FBI liquidated Silas's house. It sold for $625,000. After the mortgage was paid off, I received $225,000. They seized his car, a BMW 7 Series. It sold at auction for $87,000. They froze his bank accounts and recovered $43,000 in cash. They traced offshore accounts and recovered another $112,000 that hadn't been spent yet. In total, I recovered $467,000. Not the $850,000 my father left me, but more than Silas thought I'd ever see again. Silas went to trial in March. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't need to. I still live in Minneapolis. I use the recovered money to finish my master's degree in forensic accounting. I work for a firm that investigates financial fraud. I'm good at it. Very good. Because I know what it looks like when someone you trust is stealing from you. I know the signs, the small withdrawals, the vague excuses, the Oscar-worthy performances about market crashes and economic downturns. I know what it feels like to get a push notification and realize everything you thought was safe is gone. But I also know what it feels like to fight back, to call the FBI, to file the reports, to watch the people who hurt you get led away in handcuffs. Silas thought I wouldn't notice. He thought I was too young, too trusting, too naive to question him. He thought wrong. My father didn't trust him either. That's why he set up the alerts, and those alerts saved me. Every ping, every notification, every transfer over $5,000. They told me the truth when everyone else was lying. Silas sat me down and held my hand. He gave me an Oscar-worthy performance about how the economy swallowed my inheritance. But 5 minutes earlier, I'd received a push notification. And that notification told me everything I needed to know. He was stealing from me. And I was going to take it all back. If you loved watching someone catch a thief with nothing but a phone alert and an FBI agent, hit that like button and subscribe. Because sometimes the truth arrives in a push notification, and justice arrives in handcuffs.